Hi all, this is my service learning presentation. For my project, I went to the Urban Peak Shelter, which is a homeless shelter for youth here in Denver, Colorado. What I did is I went and served breakfast. So we prepared and served breakfast to the adolescents that were living in the shelter. We also were able to go and eat breakfast with them and kind of mingle and observe kind of, how their everyday life is. Um, I we all know that environment is really critical to our development throughout our lifespan. So I really wanted to observe an environment that was completely different from mine, one where they don't have a home, they don't have strong parental figures in their lives. I wanted to see the effects that a different environment can have on our development. That was why I chose this for my project. Um, I looked at my observations through the lens of Harkness and Super's developmental niche, Eric Erickson's psychosocial stages of development, and finally Vygotsky's sociocultural theory of development. We'll start with developmental niche. As I was able to immerse myself and kind of view their interactions, I noticed that there were times when some would get defensive with one another. They would be joking and laughing, and you would see at the point where the joke went too far. They would get a little angry in their face. You could just tell that they were distressed and getting a bit defensive. Within their developmental niche, as they were growing, they learned that they must fend for themselves, and that that caused them to become defensive when they're threatened. The lack of home and the connections within their developmental niche has led some of these kids to develop their own sense of what a threat is to their well-being. Um, I could also see this when individuals would come up and be a little hesitant to take from us, or would not even recognize that we were there and would just serve themselves. Um, they had developed a sense of that they were on their own. Within their developmental niche, they learned they were on their own. They had to fend for themselves. So getting help or receiving food from someone was unnatural to them. Um, Both the defensive behavior and the standoffish behavior, to me, I saw that their developmental niches, that's the behaviors that came out of being probably at a younger age not in a home that was right for them, and later not having a home at all. Um, in terms of Eric Erickson, we all know that through adolescence, the crisis is identity versus role confusion. It was, and forming an identity at this stage in development is crucial, according to Erickson's theory. Um, we seek to find who we are through social interactions, and a lack of a healthy microsystem and those social interactions within the family have led these individuals to have to um, find their values and attitudes elsewhere. I It was heartening to witness some of them experimenting with their identities and who they are. Different hairstyles, different clothes, different, wearing rainbows, painting their nails, different colors. So that was nice to read. Though I did after the observation, I went and looked up information from the National Coalition for the Homeless. And I found that through the Williams Institute put in a study and found that 40% of homeless youth served by agencies in America consider themselves LGBTQ. Um, the This National Coalition for the Homeless also let us know that these individuals are at higher risk for risky behavior, and going out to find alternative social interactions in order to help develop their identity. Some of these risky behaviors, including drugs, prostitution, there are many different possibilities for that type of behavior. Not saying any of these children were doing any of that, but I did find that information, and it's this type of risk inhibits them from developing a healthy a healthy sense of morality and what is right and what is wrong, which Erickson said is very critical in this stage. So it inhibits their ability to figure out who they are, what their morals are, and who they want to become. Finally, through the lens of Vygotsky, I noticed that as we were serving and observing them talking. Some of the kids kind of acted younger than they were. Some had blankets with, younger kid cartoons on them wrapped around themselves. Some were talking in baby voices. Some were scuffling their feet around. Some putting their bottom lip out, acting as if they were younger than they were. Vygotsky proposed that cognitive development occurs in situations where a child's problem solving is guided by an adult. Having a lack of a strong parent-child relationship, or not having many positive older adolescents as role models. Some of these individuals lacked interactions with more competent people to teach them the skills that they need, and through a lack in. They did not enter the zone of proximal development for certain behaviors, as was evident in that they had not reached certain areas. Deficits in language acquisition, a lack of a mature style of talk, not picking up their feet when they walked, not searching for things on their own, coming to us and asking for everything, proved that they did not have interactions with more competent individuals, that are older individuals, to kind of help them get to their potential with those behaviors. So I can see where Vygotsky theorized how he theorized that we develop more through learning from competent adults or older individuals than us. So through those lenses, I really learned, although I didn't look through the lens of the ecological systems approach, seeing them in that microsystem really taught me that our microsystems are critical, and how we are raised, especially in these really critical years of childhood and adolescence. It's really important to have a supportive microsystem or support in your environment. I also learned that we really truly are products of our environment. By observing the homeless adolescents in their shelter, it allowed me to understand that they all have unique stories regarding the interactions that they've had with their environments, and their unique interactions with their environments have all kind of led them here in different ways. And it was really critical to see how that environment that they are in right now is affecting who they are and their development. As we know, adolescent brains are still very vulnerable and malleable. And it is really important that that they find positive role models to learn from, and also very critical. They learn that they're supported by their environments. So as I move forward and knowing what I know now, I'm always going to be seeking future volunteer opportunities where it can be a positive role model for adolescents in need, and to help provide an environment that is supportive for them, supportive for a healthy development. Thanks so much, y'all.